Today, we had two huge decisions on immigration by the Supreme Court aimed at making America look more like the vision or maybe the fever dreams of Donald Trump and Stephen Miller. In two back-to-back 6-3 rulings, the court's conservatives handed Trump and Miller the power to expel hundreds of thousands of migrants from Haiti and thousands from Syria by ending humanitarian protections that have permitted them to live and work legally in the United States for more than a decade. They also allowed the Trump administration to turn away migrants seeking asylum along the U.S.-Mexico border by physically preventing them from crossing into the United States as they sought protection from persecution. Also today, one of the key people in charge of executing Stephen Miller's vision for America appeared before Congress. This guy, Markwayne Mullin, who narrowly won confirmation as Homeland Security Secretary over the objections of one key Republican, Rand Paul, who has said that Mullin has, quote, anger issues, which sounds pretty plausible when you remember how a few years ago, then Senator Mullin challenged a witness to a fight on the Senate floor.
We can be two consenting adults. We can finish it here.
Okay, that's fine. Perfect.
You want to do it now?
I'd love to do it right now.
Well, stand your butt up then.
You stand your butt up.
Oh, hold on.
Big guy.
Oh, stop it.
Today, Markwayne Mullin, in his new capacity as Secretary of DHS, had to appear before Congress, clutching a stress ball, really, to apparently keep his anger in check as he clashed with Democratic members and the Republican committee chairman.
Secretary Mullin, does DHS have any official specific internal goals or policies to reduce deaths in custody?
Ma'am, your numbers just aren't accurate. We've had 0.009%.
Mr. Secretary,
you're asking about this. It's 0.009% of deaths. And we've had 54 total in the president's time. Those are dangerous accusations you're making.
Mr. Secretary.
Those are dangerous accusations that she's making. Because in the state of Illinois, they're twice as high to die in the state penitentiary of Illinois than they are in detention
centers. You are invited to this committee. This is my time.
Let me just say this to you, sir. Again, it is my time. 3,900 children were separated from their families.
450,000 kids were lost during the Biden administration. You didn't say a word about it.
Mr. Secretary, do not interrupt.
Don't you point your finger at me. Don't be a hypocrite.
I will point my finger at you.
Don't you be a hypocrite then. Then you be as you should be as upset about the 450,000 kids that were lost. You didn't say a word about it. For 4 years, you never said a word.
Mr. Secretary.
Could you put him in his place for
don't yell at me.
You should be put in your place.
Mr. Secretary, if you would like 4 minutes for a closing statement when everybody's done, I'll give you that. But while members are on their 8 minutes, I need them to have their 8 minutes.
I started my comments.
I appreciate that. My issue is that they say this for sound bites, and I'm not going to let them say something like that.
What did you do just recently for sound bites? I sympathize with the 400,000.
We are going to have something resembling order here. The time is the ranking members. If you would like to respond later on, there are methods to do that, but it's not a who can talk louder into the mic.
It's not.
So, you are recognized.
Thank you very much.
I will not let her sit there and lie and accuse something this ridiculous.
Well, this is the legislative branch, and it's my hearing, and so I'm going to try to some extent to control it moderately.
And do not accuse me of lying. Do not.
As a reminder, that man was supposed to be the upgrade from Kristi Noem. But ultimately, Secretary Markwayne Mullin is just an enforcer, one of the many figures executing the draconian blueprint for America being put in place by Donald Trump's Supreme Court. Leah Littman is a professor at the University of Michigan Law School and co-host of the podcast Strict Scrutiny. She is the author of Lawless: How the Supreme Court Runs on Conservative Grievance, Fringe Theories, and Bad Vibes. And she joins me now. So, Leah, first, I just want to get your take on that Markwayne Mullin hearing in Congress today. Do you have any thoughts?
I mean, where to even begin? The idea that he is in charge of a law enforcement agency that conducts border control, immigration enforcement proceedings is appalling when we think about the culture of lawlessness at DHS and the excessive enforcement practices we have seen. I don't think it's a coincidence that the person in charge of that agency has such apparent anger management issues.
Yeah, it doesn't bode well for reining in any of the agents at ICE or CBP, but be that as it may. Can you lay out these two immigration rulings that we got today from the Supreme Court, what they mean for the country, for immigrants, for Donald Trump, Stephen Miller, Like how many people will get de-documented from TPS, that sort of thing?
Yeah, so I think that these decisions basically give right-wingers in the administration everything they want. They are basically given a hall pass from having to comply with various federal statutes or the federal constitution. So in the temporary protected status cases, the Supreme Court essentially greenlighted what could be the largest de-legalization in this country's history, stripping more than 300,000 Haitian nationals, 6,000 Syrian nationals, and then potentially all of the other individuals from countries for whom this administration has attempted to cancel TPS of their legal status to remain in the United States. All of those individuals are potentially now eligible to be arrested, detained, and deported, even though they may have lived in this country for more than 15 years. And then you add to that the asylum case, where the Supreme Court essentially told the Trump administration, you need not respect any of the legal protections for asylum seekers or respect the procedures for individuals to claim asylum as long as you physically block individuals from entering the United States. Both of those decisions penalize non-citizens who attempted to comply with the law, to physically present themselves at the border to claim asylum formally, or who underwent the rigorous vetting process to receive temporary protected status. All of those individuals are now losing their legal protections.
So, Leah, I want to play for you something that Donald Trump said about Haitians, which covers some of the people who are about to become delegalized, de-documented. Take a listen.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there.
So this, among other comments that Trump has made about Haitians, including that they come from an S-hole country, were presented as evidence by the plaintiffs that there was some sort of racial animus that may have motivated the decision to take away temporary protected status from Haitians. However, the majority ruled that those comments did not count as overtly racial. Given that, what would it take to be considered overtly racial coming from the president in the context of a case like this?
I mean, who is to say? In this case, as you say, the 6 Republican appointees said that Trump's statements that Haitians probably have AIDS, are poisoning the blood of our country, are eating the cats and dogs, don't constitute racial animus. I mean, Justice Alito's majority opinion characterized that as not overtly racial. I have no idea what that could possibly mean. He did not even have the strength to reprint the comments that the president made in the opinion that excused those comments as not racist. And if you are unwilling to recite the comments from the person you say isn't racist, maybe that is a sign that it is racist. Now, what Justice Alito said 2 months ago did constitute racism was when Congress attempted to get states to draw districts that were actually representative of a multiracial democracy, namely complying with the Voting Rights Act. That, Sam Alito said, was racism. But Donald Trump smearing Haitian nationals with such vile language, that apparently isn't overtly racial at all.